What is that feeling that creeps up on you as you walk into an unfamiliar room? The feeling where eyes are staring at you from the empty rocking chair. Your gut twists and you think, this place is haunted. You feel an invisible gaze watch you as you walk around, examining relics from the past. The hair on the back of your neck stands up, and you feel afraid of something, but you don't know what it is. Later on, you find out that a horrific event took place in the very room you'd felt the eyes. Some might call this feeling a ghost. Did you feel their presence? Were they watching you? Or were you experiencing a place memory? Can the stone tape theory be the scientific answer to some hauntings? If you're into ghost hunting, you've certainly heard of this theory. After all, the first law of Einstein's theory of thermodynamics states that energy cannot be created or destroyed.
So if energy cannot be created nor destroyed, does that mean it stays imprinted in the place it last was? Welcome to Who Are You? Curious Stories of Family Lore.
I'm Weetzie.
And I'm Sam Ivy. And welcome.
This is episode 21?
I think so.
Episode 21. And so, imprinting, energetic imprinting. Ooh, spooky.
Yeah, so I figured I would take y'all down some Maryland history lane, talking about this place known as St. Clement's Island. It is a little neck of the woods that I used to go to a lot as a kid. This particular area, my great-grandmother actually worked in for years, and I would just, go visit her whenever we were in town and things like that, and I didn't realize the historical means and energy that was around there until down a little deeper.
Yeah, so we should start saying what branch of the family tree, what family tree, why are we starting or doing an episode? I was thinking about this earlier.
She's our grandma, our great grandma and everything, but it's on my mom's side. It's my mom's grandmother, so my great grandmother.
That's cool.
She's a big part of the community down in 7th District for Maryland. So yeah, she's a very cool lady. I like her.
Is she still alive?
Yeah, she's still around. She no
She's
longer
your
works.
great grandma, and she's still alive.
I think she's my last living one.
That's crazy.
But to St. Clement's Island, I must take you. Basically, to give you a geographical position of where this is at, it's on the eastern shore of the Potomac River. To kind of put where it's at, where it's located. This is the spot for Maryland's first colonial landing back in 1634, which I thought was pretty cool to find out. So history runs deep.
Yeah, it's where they landed.
Yeah.
And founded Maryland or whatever.
Part of this area. Not the whole state, but parts of it.
Nice.
But basically what I found out, which I had no idea going to this museum that my great grandmother worked at for years, was the actual history that it showed you and what you could read and discover. Because being a little kid, you didn't go in that depth. But their museum had basically focused on the English history about the voyage to Maryland, relating to the religious and political issues that were happening during the 16th and 17th century, which is why they left England and came here.
Oh, wow. So it's around the same time that the Palatine immigration was happening.
Yeah, it was during that whole migration period where everybody, didn't like what they were hearing or had the ruling under, so they wanted to go branch off and kind of start their new.
Yeah.
So the museum focused on the vision of George Calvert. He was the first Lord of Baltimore. He founded a colony that was incorporating religious views of tolerance, and his son was the one that implemented his vision. I had to look up what tolerance was because I was like, it sounds familiar, but I wasn't so sure exactly like what that
Yeah.
meant. So I found out that, the religious belief or the religious practicing of tolerance is the acceptance and respect of an individual's right to practice their beliefs without interference or discrimination. So basically, he founded a
Okay.
colony where, believe what you want to believe. We will support you all. Like, it's cool.
Oh
Just as
my
long as you believe in
God. What's his
something.
name?
George Calvert.
George, what's up?
Yeah. So on top of that, we also had parts of the museum where you could learn about the voyage of the Ark and Dove, departing from the Isles of Wight in England, on the feast
Ugh.
day of St. Clement's. So apparently, like during this whole voyage or whatever, they had treacherous encounters when they're crossing the Atlantic Ocean between pirates and just crucial storms that like they should not have made it, but they ventured on and was able to
Dang.
actually land over on the Potomac. Um,
That's cool.
and then they also had at the museum a 7 by 20 foot mural depicting Father Andrew White's colonial arrival, along with a whole exhibit that showed and displayed the negotiation with the Native Americans for permanent settlement. So like they
Okay.
had, life-size figures that you could see with like actual Native American like clothing and, the stuff that they wore traditionally, same with the colonials, and like they had like a little box where you could go put on your own clothes and like reenact stuff while you were there if you wanted to, which was really cool.
Oh, that's fun. I would have loved that as a kid.
Yeah. Another section of the museum you can learn about the Blackstone Lighthouse, which is a
The
lighthouse of
what?
the Blackstone.
I just want to make
But
sure
it
I
was
was hearing you right.
no, you're good. It was first created in 1851, and then it was burned down and destroyed later in 1956. So like they
Yeah.
created the beacon, that lighthouse of like, peace, this is for hunting, this is for all this. And then somebody came around. Like I said, I did briefings. I didn't want to go too in depth and take it all straight
Yeah.
history.
I always ask, like, I've always been like this ever since I was a kid. If someone would want to tell, like, someone would tell me a story, just like a quick story, and I would ask for more. I'd be like, but, like, for
Why did Bob do
example,
that?
but, like, who knocked it down? Like, where did
Yeah.
it go? Like, what happened? Uprising? Who uprose?
Well, we can do a little more research and have another
I,
little
w-
tidbit
I,
on it.
But, that's not the focus of our episode today. So I completely understand. I'm just like, my curious mind is like, dang, who would do that to a lighthouse? When did you say it burned down now?
It burned down in 1956.
1956.
Yep, and then got recreated in 2008.
Okay.
They also at the museum have an authentic historic warcraft, the Doris Sea. It was a Potomac River river dory boat that worked on the Potomac water for decades in the early 1900s.
A dory
So
boat.
yeah, it was Dory. It made me think of Finding Nemo when I read it.
Yeah.
Another cool thing that this museum had is like when you walked outside the museum, right next door, it was called the Little Red Schoolhouse, which is legit what you think, a little red schoolhouse. Like think of the schoolhouse from Holes, but smaller and red.
Yeah. That's exactly what I
But
thought of.
it was an authentic 19th century one-room school, basically, and they kept it intact, and you could go walk around it, you could go draw on the chalkboard, like you could sit there like you were in school. So I got to do that a lot. But when diving into, St. Clement's Island, because, a bunch of ghost stories and things like that I've heard over the ages between my mom telling me her personal encounters and, the county folk telling me their stuff, it made me kind of want to discover and dive in a little bit onto what events actually happened there that could cause energy to be imprinted.
Yeah.
So other than like, Civil War activity and, war and stuff and like that tragic event, and that's common around a lot of places where big things like that happened. I found a story about something that happened back in April of 1865. So listen to this.
Okay.
All right. In April 1865, following the assassination of President Lincoln, the quartermaster corps sent the barge, the Black Diamond, to the Potomac. Yeah, to the Potomac to stand on picket duty off St. Clement's Island. The main job
What is the Potomac again? Sorry to cut.
It's
sorry
the
to
Potomac
interrupt.
River. It's the river.
But that's okay. Okay. So, okay, I see.
Yeah, so they're posted up. Their main job was to keep John Wilkes Booth from crossing the river. So right after the
What the
assassination,
fuck?
their job was to stop him. All right.
What?
So while they're on the river, guarding, doing their thing, there's a steamer called the Massachusetts that was headed for Fortress Monroe out of Alexandria, Virginia at the same time. Back in the day, didn't really have a way, tell other boats, hey, I'm coming, I'm in the area. So a tragic turn of events, the Massachusetts ended up striking the Black Diamond in the darkness. There was no light, they did not see. And then therefore it sunk the Black Diamond within under 3 minutes. That whole
Dang, so
barge
these two ships
sank.
collided?
Yep, and the steamer was fine, but the Black Diamond was demolished, sank faster than the Titanic, and 87 lives were lost off the shore of St. Clement's Island that day.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Ooh.
So the reason why I found this interesting is because, like I said, my
dang.
mom would tell me stories, and I've heard from other, natives around here, that to this day, if you go to St. Clement's Island, whether you're on a boat going closer to where like the lighthouse recreation is, or if you stay where the schoolhouse is, at certain times, and of course they always say closer to 3 a.m, witch's hour and stuff, you could
Yeah.
stand there and you would see apparitions. You would see not full figures, but you would see kind of misty, hazy front halves, like from like their chest up, of people just walking along the shoreline. So after hearing about that tragedy that happened with 87 lives lost, on top of some war stuff, it made me like realize that, tragedy and events and things like energy really does imprint in that area. And I would never have known where that imprinting came from if it wasn't for, diving in and realizing that there's a lot more history that happened down in this island I was going to as a kid than I freaking thought.
Yeah, because like you heard about them seeing spirits and ghosts and like half body apparitions on that island before you even knew that story of
Yeah,
that
and I
shipwreck.
knew about that story, and I didn't realize and put two together that it was the same island, the same museum that I was going to as a kid. I thought it was two separate areas.
Oh, I see. That's crazy. And how often like would you go there as a kid?
We would go all the time, like all the time, because my great grandmother worked in the gift shop. So like we would go, we'd walk around like anytime we were down in the area, and so we went a lot. Like I could have known that place from the back of my hand. And the reason why I wanted to talk about it this episode is because I just went back down there the other day this week, and they tore the whole museum down. The little red schoolhouse, I think, is a historical place, so they kept that guy up, but the whole
Yeah,
museum got gutted. So I wonder if they're
that
going to try to
sucks.
recreate it or what they're doing, because I think I read they're trying to make it into like a park or something, which really bums me out. But I'm happy that I
Dang.
was able to be
Why
a
would
part
they?
of that.
Yeah, like you were able to go there. Like if you look, is there a way to look up like old pictures of the museum?
I think so. Like if you try to look up St. Clement Island Museum, like they still have like a website you can go on to where like it'll give you the historical information of like what it was about. But they do have pictures on like Google and stuff of like the original look of it.
Is it the one with the like pentagon kind of shape?
Yes.
Nice.
Yes. Yes. It's that one.
Cool. Wow, that's a cool looking building.
Yeah. It's no longer there
Dang.
anymore and it makes me sad. But the energy is still there. So that's
Wow.
kind of, the topic of this episode.
Yeah. St. Clement's Island Museum. St. Clement's Island Museum building will close to the public beginning Wednesday, August 27th, 2025 through December 2026. Interesting. Oh, December 2026.
Yeah.
Um, um, that's interesting. This makes it sound like it's just not going to be open because it's like during the closure, some services will remain available to visitors through the annex building located directly across the street. Oh, never mind. It's a different building. Okay. That's really cool though. Yeah.
Yeah. So I wanted to, share a little bit of that, a little bit of the Maryland history.
Yeah, and did you ever see any ghosts Did you ever see any
No, because
ghosts on
like,
there?
I always went as a kid. Like, now that I'm older, I kinda wanna take a trip and just, like, scope it out and see if it's true. Because I never did that.
Yeah,
Like, when I got to that age of doing it, I was freaking in Colorado doing shenanigans and got back, and it just was always in the back of my head, but was
yeah,
never something I was like, "Oh, I need to go do that," until now.
yeah. That's cool. Um, so you mentioned how like 87 lives were lost. That's so many lives. That's such a traumatic experience. The echo of energy imprinting. And because you said your mom saw the like
Yeah.
half figure. Yeah. That's such a creepy like visual, just like hovering torsos.
And, like,
Oh
they're
my
not looking at
God.
you or anything, apparently, like, they're just on a mission walking across, like, the river, and I'm pretty sure she saw, like, a colonial woman is what she saw.
Were there women on those ships?
During that time, like, the quartermaster was actually a woman. I don't have her name written down, but it was a woman that was the quartermaster, which was, like, the person in
Oh,
charge of the Black Diamond of that boat that was supposed to stop John Wilkes Booth.
wow. That's crazy. Um, hold on. I looked something up earlier. Basically, I read this story. If you have you heard of this? It's like it was for St. Clement's Island in Maryland, just the island. It's like this scarecrow type
Yes.
evil creature that you've heard of this?
Yes.
What's that
Go
about?
ahead,
Do you want to
share
like
to the fans.
talk about?
It's it honestly, I have not looked in depth into it. It's one of those, like, stories, like how we talked about, like, the goat man and things like it's one of those urban legends per se that are just, like, kind of creeping around. And, like, they use it as a way to,
Yeah,
like, scare us kids from, like, going to the island, like, late or being there, like that whole stereotype before cell phones, when the sun goes down, you need to be home type deal.
yeah. Basically, it was like this story of this scarecrow type cryptid that would hide under stairs and like grab your ankles and stuff like
Yeah,
that.
no.
That's what
Nope.
I read.
Nope. Oh, fuck with that shit, man.
Yeah. Um, but I wanted to, have you ever heard of stone tape theory?
No, I have not.
I pulled up a research study. Okay, here we go.
Okay.
So I'm sure you have heard of the stone tape theory, but you mentioned how imprints, like energetic imprints. So
Yeah.
the stone tape theory is basically the argument that energy imprints. And if you watch a lot of ghost hunting shows, you've definitely heard of it. Um,
Okay.
Basically the idea that stones and magnetic fields store energy.
Mhm.
So paranormal activity is not scientifically explainable according to this study, but because it can't be measured, it can't be quantified, there's no absolutes, but it can be theorized. And in order to
Yeah.
theorize, a lot of parapsychologists quote Einstein, like you did at the beginning of this episode. You quoted, energy cannot be created nor destroyed, it can only be transferred. And
Mhm.
this this is saying that when that energy gets transferred to a porous material like quartz or limestone, I think sandstone
Yeah.
as well, that it can store it. And when some sort of other or activity or event happens that causes a shockwave of energy, it can
Yeah.
pull that static energy that's been stored back to the surface, and it can manifest as audio and visual like
No, I believe that
sounds.
100%, dude. That kind of ties into when we
But
talked about Mold Dyer's Rock here in Maryland,
yeah,
like
yeah,
that stone where the witch
exactly.
died and everything. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. and how it's like her energy is imprinted on that rock, literally like her hand.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly.
her, another, the time we heard Mimi's voice, like responding to
Uh-huh.
you when we were talking about her. The
I'm a
EVP,
firm
that's an
believer in all that, dude.
auditory. Yeah, but that felt like she was responding to us, that was crazy, that was so weird. I can't prove
Yeah,
it,
no.
but go listen to that. Guys, if you haven't, go
Yeah.
listen to it and you tell us if you hear her talking. It's crazy. Um, Another example of, like, energetic transference is, like, those cold spots you feel all of a sudden.
Yeah.
So some people or some theories state that transfer that's like the transfer the energy being absorbed by a spirit is sucking out that cold spot, so that's like another like proof. It kind of falls into the stone tape theory a little bit. um
Okay.
and people's goal is to prove a haunting, right? Like if you see those half bodies walking around St. Clement's Island, we wonder, okay, what the heck is that? What am I seeing right now? Well, if not only like those shipwrecks, you talked about how that was the first landing spot for people, right? Like one of the first landing spots when Maryland
Yeah.
was set, like being colonized. Well,
And it had a
I
lot of
remember,
events during like the Civil War and stuff too. So it has a lot of history there.
oh, okay, yeah. So like the violence of the Civil War, all of that, um, being stored, trying to see if there's like a lot of limestone. Doesn't matter. It's on the water. So another part of the stone tape theory is if it's not limestone or quartz that's storing the energy being released later on by a trigger, um, then water.
Mhm.
Energy, like water stores energy and it transfers energy, and it also like is a source to propel energy,
Yeah. It's like a conductor.
strengthen energy. Yeah. So these are all things that like people know if you watch ghost hunting shows. Um, but that's basically the stone tape theory. Hmm. I wanted to
Well, that's cool. I
there's
didn't
one
know it
more
had a
thing. I'm
name
just
for
double
it.
checking here. Yeah, me either. Once I was reading this, I'm like, oh, the stone tape theory. That's basically I remember the Adirondack Mountains, there's a ton of, I think it's limestone in the Adirondack Mountains. And I remember my mom telling me that limestone was like a ghost stone. She called it the ghost stone.
Oh.
Oh, this is what I wanted to tell you. This is the word for this, and I think it's really cool. So I want to read you this paragraph. I'm going to read you this paragraph of from this study. This is from gis.smumn.edu. This is basically a study. They were trying to compare the theory that there's comparing the stone tape theory to actual ghost encounters and evidence. So they're like mapping it and
Okay.
making charts and stuff to be like cross referencing it to be like, oh, look, where there's limestone, there should be like a bunch of ghosts, like, just
Yeah.
comparing notes. Um, so this is a really interesting paragraph from that. And I'm going to like skip a few sentences, but basically, uh, the stone tape theory is uh suggests the stone tape theory suggests limestone quartz and or magnetic deposits can store information such as an historical event. When the information is released, a residual haunting can occur. And residual haunting is when something from the past just repeats. You hear about this all the time in
Yeah.
ghost hunting. um and they, like I said, they use Einstein's first law of thermodynamics, that energy cannot be created nor destroyed, which again, you brought up without me even bringing up. So it's perfect. Um, and to further support this, there's this phenomenon called place memory. Have you ever heard of this?
I have not.
Well, that is the actual information, once it gets played out, that is the place memory. It's the memory that's been stored and retrieved through extrasensory perception. And in order for a place memory to exist, so like this is all theoretical. So like let's say the energy is being stored in the limestone, but no one is around to receive it, then it's not a place memory. But if you're there to receive the information and you experience a sound from the past echoing through the electromagnetic transfer of stored energy, then you have experienced place memory, and place memory now exists, but it is only existing because you're retrieving it. It's kind of like Schrodinger's
Okay.
cat,
All right.
right?
That makes
Isn't he
sense
the one
though.
that like, God, sorry.
No, I was just saying, like, that makes sense though. Like, you can't expect if nobody's there to be imprinted with said energy or be a part of it, you can't expect anything to absorb it.
Yeah. If a locker slams in the hallway and no one's around to hear it, does it make a sound? Been asking myself that since sixth
Yeah.
grade.
I mean, it's better than if a
Um,
bear shits in the woods, like type deal.
right. Or if a tree falls in the forest.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
the other thing that has to happen for place memory to exist is emotion. Whether the person receiving the information is the emoter or if the event stored is emotion, like stores emotional information.
Okay.
So, um, yeah, so that's
Well, it
pretty
makes
much
sense
all
now, like,
the
why the
key
ghosts are walking around
sources.
the island and shit.
Yeah, because not only that, there could be limestone or quartz deposits or some sort of magnetic field, but let alone the fact that it's right by the ocean. Places along the shore
Yeah, like the
are
river.
super prone to, yeah. So,
No, that's cool. It makes me
yep.
wonder too, like, because of my grandma passing away at her house and like that house not being in the family anymore, like if I were to go back to that area, like would I feel the type of energy or would I like, happen to see anything? Like, it makes me curious on a bunch of other things.
Yeah, because wasn't your grandma's
Definitely means when you come
house
and visit, we
on
gotta go
the
take a trip to
ocean?
St. Clements. No, that was
Yeah,
my great
we
grandma's house.
will.
That was on I think like the Chesapeake Bay.
Oh,
It was my dad's grandmother's house on the Chesapeake. Yeah.
oh, okay. With the
But
roses.
either way, like, like you said, with the stones and stuff, like who knows what was in the soil of my grandmother's house. So like, I believe her energy is still stored there. It was a tragic event.
Oh,
But I
yeah.
believe that with everybody and
Um,
anybody. Like,
yeah. There was, I told this story in an earlier episode, but the house that my brother and I grew up in, that we lived in until I was like 15, and I was brought home from the hospital, and the lady that lived there before us died in the room that became our toy room. So, and then my brother, like, remember I told you my brother got that lady's bed and he slept in it like basically his whole
yes.
life.
Yes.
Yeah. My dad and brother had the same dream about that lady, like on the same night of her in like a blue nightgown, standing at the foot of their bed, which they're not in the same bed. They were in different
Dude.
rooms, obviously. And my dad is in it with my mom, and my brother's in his own room. He at that time was sleeping in her bed, but my parents had used her bed too. It was like kind of like
Okay.
just used, and like it was passed through people as they needed it, you know?
Yeah.
Um,
But it shows
I
that she
never
still went
used
ahead
it,
and visited
disclaimer. I
those
never
that
slept in
were,
a dead lady's bed. Sorry,
but
I
you
just
never got
wanted
a
to say I
visit from
never
her like they
slept in a
did.
dead
So,
lady's bed. Nope.
no,
Mm-mm.
you're good.
No, I sure didn't. No, but like
But
weirder.
it makes
I would
sense.
have like I feel like that house had like a feeling. Like sometimes you just know, like the energetic feeling of a room, like your the hairs stand up on their ends, you know.
Yeah. Or that colder energy like we were talking about earlier.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of. That was really it. That's all I had for my theory.
Yeah, I mean that's all the research. That's all the research I had on St. Clements. But that house you guys grew up in, is that still around, or did that get torn down?
It did get torn down. I went back though before it got torn down, and I like broke into it. I didn't have to. No one was living there. I didn't have to break into it because the door wasn't even locked. I just walked in. That was the back door, and I like walked through it, and it felt so empty, and it was so weird seeing it. And I just took my time just walking through, and this was probably, I don't even know, 2011, maybe 12.
Yeah.
And I remember just like feeling like all the life was gone from it. All of the way that it felt was just
The feelings
different
that made it feel like a
because
home. Yeah.
yeah, they were just gone. But then, you know, going back to that field now because it was torn down, and I don't remember what year, honestly. It's been a while now, but I always look. So Brad and I grew up right. Like I grew up on top of the kind of top of the hill. If you go around down the street, there's Brad's house. So when you're in Brad's house, if you're looking out the window, you can see the hill where my house used to be. So it's just like I look at that plot of land and it looks so tiny. Yeah, isn't that so weird? Like every time I zone out and I
I mean,
look
at
out
least
the
you can
window,
still
I'm like, my whole childhood is
childhood, your
there
whole
on that
fucking
hill.
beginning. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's fucking
Yep.
wild.
It just feels empty.
My main point for like having this episode was just to get the people thinking on like, you know, maybe go back to the places you went to as a kid, especially with the way the towns and things are evolving. Like, you know, my hometown does not look at all as it did when I grew up, and trying to, you know, understand and appreciate what was, and like go back and feel the energy. Like, because taking that trip down there and seeing the fucking museum demolished the way that I did, I could definitely still feel the heavy energy just driving by.
Yeah. I have no recent ghost sightings. There are some spooky occurrences in this house that we currently live in. They're very minor, but they kind of support the idea of ghostly imprints
The
or
energy being imprinted. Yeah.
the or what is it? I have to remember. It's called the Jeepers place memory. Place memory. But what I don't so great, that's all great and theoretically sounds good. Where that's good. Residual. We got it. Residual, that makes sense. Stored energy being released. Awesome.
Yeah.
But my question is, this is what I was trying to remember. Because there was a question I was wanting to pose at the end that my brain just wasn't braining. So that's residual hauntings. But what about intelligent hauntings? And
Yeah.
here's my example from real life. Here's my example. My cousin used to live with us. Shout out to Lou. He lived with us for like a year and a half, a little bit more. And while he was living here, he lived up in the attic, which is 2 stories up from where I am right now. And I'd be sitting in the living room.
Yeah.
And I would hear him like open the door to the back porch and cough and like shut the door. And then I'd be like, Lou? And there'd be no Lou. I'd text him and he'd be like, I'm upstairs. I'd be like, what the heck? There were times where Brad and I both heard him say something Like he'd say like, hey,
But he
or
wasn't
he'd
there.
cough, but there were, yeah, but he wasn't there, or he was upstairs. So it was like this, something was like mimicking his voice or something.
Yeah,
One time,
I've been
clear
on the
as
phone with you a
day,
couple
I
times when
was
that would
in,
happen.
oh yeah. Oh, and it was weird because it was like a lot all at once and then it stopped. It was like a lot for a while and then it stopped. But one day, clear as day, I was in the playroom with him and I heard from the kitchen, hey, Maud. Just hey, Maud, in his voice and his attonation, or when he's like, there's a specific way he says it.
With
And
the
I was like,
enunciation
yeah,
of it. Yeah.
yeah. It's like, yeah. And there was no response. And I get up and I like look, I'm like, he's not out there. But it was like, hey, Maud.
Yeah.
So he calls me Maud sometimes.
Damn, dude.
So I'm just wondering, thoughts from the listeners, how do you explain intelligent interactions? Like, you can't always believe what you see on the internet. Sure, you can't even believe video anymore with AI. But what about your own
Yeah.
eyes? This is a really good question. If you're there, you're in person, you hear something. Are you going to gaslight yourself into logic? Or are you going to let
Mm-hmm.
yourself wonder, what if? You know, we can't pigeonhole ourselves
If
just
it's good.
because, even if it's really good, yes, we can't quantify or measure our soul. We can't. And in order for your soul to be like trace energetically as it left your body, you'd have to be able to quantify it. You can see like heat
Yeah.
escaping from a body. That's energy escaping. You can see like moisture, like evaporation happening, you know. So you can quantify that energy. You can actually see that transfer. But you can't. Nobody has an answer for what happens to our consciousness, right? Where does that go? And where does that imprint? And so
Yeah.
there's that gap, there's that in between the
The known and unknown.
thank you. That's it. That's it. So I
You're
posed
okay.
that question. How do you answer for intelligent interactions versus the stored energy? But yeah, interesting story,
Hell yeah,
man.
dude.
Thanks for sharing. And thanks
Thanks
to your
for
grandma
listening.
for
Thanks for
working at
wanting
the
me to
gift
share.
shop and taking you. Yes.
Yeah.
Any thoughts, final thoughts for the listeners?
Like I said, my final thought basically is just, you know, take a look back. Go back to some places you've gone to as a kid. See how it's changed. See if the energy's changed. See if you can still feel the same heaviness that you did back in the day. Because I sure do. And now it makes me want to definitely go travel to a bunch of other places that I no longer go to anymore. That was a big part of my childhood.
Yeah. And if you have any creepy ghost stories or interactions, email us at hold on. It's wrupodcast@gmail.com, or send us a message on Instagram or TikTok at whoareyou podcast. And you can win one of these. We're not making a video. Why am I doing this? We're not making a video. Well,
Hell
maybe this
yeah.
part will be, you can win one of these. But anyways, thanks for listening, fam.
And never stop asking yourself,
Who are you?
who are you?
Who are you?
Who is you?
Who is me? Who is we?